Okay, so here's the basic interface to test out the ChatGPT API. This is a simple HTML form. We got a history window, we have the text prompt window, we have a start speaking button, and we have a send button. We can either manually type our request here and click the send button, or alternatively, we can click the start speaking button, at which point it will start sampling our voice. Once it detects a pause in the speech, it will send the sampled voice to Google Speech to Text API, and that will process the sampled voice, convert it to text output, return the text output, and the text output will be posted here, and then that text output will be packaged up in JSON format and sent to the ChatGPT API for processing. Response will be sent back. It'll display here, and it will send that response to text to speech to Google API and return an utterance which will be then spoken by the web browser. This is the basic HTML page, nothing too complicated. Basically just a text area and two buttons and a chat history window. Styles, not going to go too much into that. That's just to pretty it up. Nothing too important. It would work 100% without any of that. And here is the code. The meat of the code here is this chat GPT request here, where it packages it up into the JSON format, and then it's sent to the ChatGPT API, and then the response comes back, and then we process that response locally on the browser. Okay, the ChatGPT API is available on the web. Talks about API keys, which you have to obtain. You actually have to create an account, which you pay for. I have an account I paid for, and you're charged per token. It's basically characters in and characters out, and you can control that, have some say, and there are some restrictions on the amount that one can send. But here's the basic API. It talks about formatting of the input and then the formatting of the output. And you'll see that there are actually a lot of options, including the format you can submit. We're going to stick to text, but you could send image files, audio files, actual files for processing, but we're not going to do that. We're just testing the basic text functionality. So we're going to start out with a basic hello world. Hello world.
Hello. How can I assist you today?
So that was all pretty fast. Realize that hello world had to travel out to Google, come back, then travel out to ChatGPT, come back, and then go back out to Google and come back. So it made 3 round trips in this time. I'm testing out the ChatGPT API.
Great. How can I help you with your testing? Do you have any specific questions or tasks in mind?
So it didn't hear me very well. It says ChatGPT. So we'll try to correct it and see if it kind of understands the context. I meant ChatGPT.
Understood. You're referring to the ChatGPT API. How can I assist you with it? Whether you have questions about its capabilities, how to use it, or anything else related, feel free to ask.
So here you see I mentioned ChatGPT without reference to the API, but it was able to remember. So I have built in some history. There's a history of 10 items and after 10, it will kind of forget. So if you have a long conversation, it will forget things really early on in the conversation. But we can demonstrate just basically that there is more memory. What is 1 plus 1?
1 plus 1 equals 2.
Multiply that by 3.
Multiplying 2 by 3 gives you 6.
What was the misspoken GPT I mentioned earlier in the conversation?
Earlier in the conversation, you mentioned ChatGPT instead of ChatGPT.
That's pretty good. Now, if I would have asked that 10 prompts down the line, it probably wouldn't have been able to tell me that. Can you keep the responses short since I'm just doing a demonstration?
Sure.
Right there. So tell me your feedback on large language model and automation integration.
Effective, enhances productivity, and offers broad application potential.
Can you give me a little more extensive response? Okay, there.
Language models and automation
There it did cut me off,
significantly
didn't let me finish,
improve
or
efficiency
I
and
paused.
accuracy in data processing, customer service, and content creation. They enable personalized experiences, support decision-making, and can streamline complex tasks, making them invaluable tools for businesses and developers.
What do you think of using large language model for microcontrollers?
Using large language models for microcontrollers presents challenges due to limited computing power and memory. However, with advancements in model optimization and edge computing, it's becoming more feasible. This approach can enhance smart devices with natural language processing capabilities, making interactions more intuitive.
Thank you very much for your feedback. That's all for today. Can you give me feedback on how you think it went today?
I'm glad to have been of assistance. Based on our interaction, it seems our conversation was productive and your inquiries were addressed effectively. If you have more questions in the future or need further clarification on any topic, feel free to reach out. Have a great day.
Okay, so that was a successful test of the ChatGPT API. One small problem I did have in the testing, I ran out of tokens, and I was getting errors, and I didn't know what it was. But then I did, when I examined the JSON response, it finally told me that I was out of credits. So I fixed that. I paid my bill, and all is well now.